On the table, I have 4 watches. In this instance, this is all French watch brands. Zachary B. Blass, how are you?
Mr. Marcus, I'm doing well. I'm actually here in my new Time+Tide New York City studio. So I'm very excited.
Some of you might have seen a video that Zach and I did a while back, and it was, we started a little segment called The Lineup, and this is the next installment to the lineup, and I'm sure that there's going to be many more now that we have 2 spaceships, one in New York, one here in Amsterdam.
Well, if it's okay with you, Marcus, I think a good way to do this is I think we should go in order of price.
Yes,
so
okay.
We'll go from the most affordable to the most, at least in terms of price, high end.
Okay, my guess, looking at this lineup in price, I'm guessing the Baltic is the entry.
You would be correct, sir. Yes, so the Baltic Prismic is where we're going to start our journey. But Etienne Malik, the founder of Baltic, his watchmaking story began in 2005, but the brand itself started in 2016, and it was named in honor of his father's roots on the northern coast of Poland. In their own words, the brand, their aim is to offer the highest quality watches at the fairest price. And this is possible because the majority of the components are produced in Hong Kong, and then the assembly and adjustment is performed in France. And they use both Japanese and Swiss calibers, in their watches. And they're very transparent about this. This isn't like, breaking news. But the watch we have in front of us is from the Prismic collection. It's one that has a dress watch sensibility, but it also has this sort of casual and colorful edge. And it's definitely won fans over with its more classically sized dimensions of, its steel and titanium case. So it's actually a two-tone case, technically. And the case measures 36 millimeters in diameter, 9.2 millimeters thick, and 44 millimeters lug to lug. And then inside you have a Swiss 7001 hand-wound movement with 42 hours of power reserve. And all of this is 1,050 euros on a bracelet, which is pretty damn good price.
Holy smokes, only 1,050 euros. Cheap as,
Yeah.
I would say the finishing on this dial is deceptive from a price perspective. I would have anticipated a little higher than that based on this finishing, and the finishing of the case, the mid case as well. I love it. It's this sort of, bead blasted sort of finish in this little mid case here, which is beautiful. And very, very supple bracelet, very, very smooth. It doesn't feel like it would, if I do this and I bend it a little bit, there's no grabbing of the hairs. Yeah, definitely. This has definitely got the right, ticking the right boxes to be a very dress watch. But I think because of the outrageous purple dial, it says I'm ready to party. I'm ready for some fun.
No, the bracelet's very comfortable. The leather straps are nice. Those are actually from Italy, so it's nice Italian leather. And the thing that really stands out to me about the Prismic, besides the dial plate and its nice color and texture, is actually the hands, because it kind of makes me think of the razor sharp hands, the Dauphine style hands that I love from Grand Seiko. But again, this is just above 1,000 euros. This is a totally different playing field. And like their sort of motto I mentioned before suggests, they're really trying to offer, the highest quality at the fairest price. So look, is this made the same way a Patek Philippe is made? Absolutely not. But for the price and what you're getting, I'm confident in standing behind it and saying it's good value.
Wow.
It'll fit anybody. Bracelet or strap, what would you prefer this particular watch on?
Well, you know what? I would probably prefer it on a strap. That's just that's what I would end up doing and sort of wearing more often than not. And especially when I accessorize, I love all my accessories, which wearing with a watch and that just works quite well.
For the record, I think I'm team bracelet.
Moving up the scale, so that's 1,050 euros. Let me guess. The next one has got to be the Yema.
It is.
Yes.
So if anybody hasn't figured this out yet, these are probably the 2 brands when Marcus is saying that he's familiar with them. Mm-hmm. These are the 2 brands. We've covered both quite often. So Yema was founded in 1948, and in 1953, which, as we know, is a key year for dive watches, Yema was able to make its own 100-meter water-resistant dive watch. And all this was happening in France, which, is obviously a sense of pride. But for a sense of scale, in 1954, its production reached 130,000 watches. So this wasn't like a small mom and pop shop, right? But in terms of the watch that we're looking at, which is, the Yema Superman, it was first created in 1967.
Yep.
And, that 67 model is the basis for the Superman Slim we have today. It measures 39 millimeters in diameter, 9.95 millimeters thick, 48 millimeters lug to lug, and it's water resistant to 300 meters with a screw down crown. But here's where the kicker is, and this is the thing that I think is a huge distinguishing element for it, right? Because dive watches are quite ubiquitous. The real kicker is that despite its $2,490 US price point, it boasts and exhibits a manufacturer micro-rotor caliber that's accurate within +7, -3 seconds per day. And I love, because this has been a huge point of conversation lately, that it actually fills the case back. Like, it really feels like it's fitted to the case back. It's not a tiny movement inside of a larger case.
This is really, but you know what I love is I love all these blacked out plates. This is just fantastic. There's one like really spectacular thing that I think Yema do really well is this contrast. They play with contrast really well with this approach in their movements. I mean, the one thing I love about Yema's bracelet sort of action is this real snake skin or snake scale or fish scale type of links. It really is quite iconic and unique. But I love this, the blue dial is really, it's just a beautiful calming blue. I mean, I think this has some pretty crazy lume as well. Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's a bit, here we go. Look at this, I'll just charge it up real quick. I mean, and even under these bright lights, you can kind of see that the lume is definitely, very active, which is great. The one thing I would say about Yema watches, which I find a little bit disconcerting, is not all Yema watches, but these Supermans, this little bezel lock. So when the crown is screwed in, this little piece of metal, this stops you from moving the bezel left and right. Now, this is a good thing if you were to dive and you don't want any kind of bumps and knocks of the timing of your dive. So this makes sense. So it's a real sort of safety thing. But it does mean that you've got to do 2 moves to be able to use your timing bezel, of which I do. I use the timing bezel all of the time. But then, what I would say, if I could change one thing, I would love it if they made this bezel bidirectional so that, unscrewing it and locking it means that I could just quickly zero it back within 2 clicks or 3 clicks or whatever, but instead I've got to do the whole way around. What was the price on this one, Zach?
I believe $2,490.
Dude.
US dollars. And looking at the clasp, I believe I'm seeing a micro adjustment system, no?
It doesn't have a micro adjust, no, aside from your standard.
It has the extension though.
But you did notice something very interesting. It has a diver's extension. So let me show you here. So we can just pull that out. And that gives us a huge amount of extension. But when you really look at the way these watches are finished and the performance, how deep they can go, very, very difficult to beat this proposition. Okay, so Zach, I would assume that this Sartory-Billard probably comes next when we're talking about climbing the price ladder category, maybe? Am I close?
So yes, you are correct, because the average price of the SB07 is €9,000. This all is contingent on the final configuration you choose. And the reason I bring that up is Sartory-Billard was founded in 2015, and its key distinction as a watchmaker was this element of creating an opportunity for watch buyers to bespoke commission pieces that, where you could customize these sort of framework models. And based on the model you choose, it will have a different base price point. So, it could be towards the entry luxury end of things and then going up into even like the world of tourbillons. But the SB07 that we have is the brand's first sports watch. It's a stylish integrated bracelet design that can be on the brand's integrated bracelet or their rubber strap. It measures 40 millimeters in diameter, 10.65 millimeters thick, so it's quite sporty slender, and 48 millimeters lug to lug, so that's very catering to, the average wrist. And then for the dial, and this is the element about Sartori that a lot of people are familiar with, you can explore various materials, colors, and textures. And so in the case of the SB07, you have titanium, guilloche, or even stone dial options. And these can all be explored in different colors and finishes. And the 100-meter water-resistant watch is driven by a 68-hour Lejeune Perret automatic movement. And like I said, the average budget for an SB07 commission is €9,000.
Wow. This is actually pretty special, man. I like this dial a lot. You know what's really interesting as well? They've got it's clear there's a layer of sapphire which is just sitting on top of the dial itself. I don't know whether you can kind of see that there, Zach. It's on the sort of the chapter ring. There you go. You can kind of see it there. But it's so it reflects in a different way with the light play, as you can kind of see there. So it's sort of giving the dial just that little bit extra depth. The indices are kind of I guess they must be painted on top of that inner ring of sapphire, but then that you've got just this extra bit of contrast because there is no sapphire sitting on the inner part of the dial. The red is just really luscious and deep there, but it's just it's a very, very alive dial. Well, let's see what the lume is doing on this. Okay, you can kind of see there. There's some pretty active. Yeah, it's mesmerizing. It's just beautiful. I'm trying to work out how they counterweight this because it looks like a perfect. Well, it's a peripheral rotor. But
yeah, I believe they call it like their mystery rotor, but it has this sort of like fluted look where you're tricked into thinking it's an extension of the case back, but really it's winding the watch. And because of that, because of that sort of fluting to it, the eye doesn't really register that it's rotating. So it's an optical illusion that gives you the effect of like having a manual wind view, but it's an automatic.
Yeah. You know what? And here's another really interesting thing, which I haven't seen in watches that have come across my desk before, is this this clasp system. It has it's spring loaded. So when you push here, there's a lot of force that you've got to force, and then it snaps into place. So pulling this up,
I believe the strap is if it's not made by Deluxe, it's that similar style.
Yep.
Where it's that spring-loaded. There's no triggers. It's really comfortable to use.
There's no triggers at all.
It's not going to unlock by accident.
No,
it's not going to unlock by accident. As a designer-driven brand, it's very important to make your watch stand out. And the integrated bracelet watch, like a dive watch, is a category that's so saturated. So there's certainly familiar elements of like kind of the barrel or circle within a barrel sort of shape. But the scallops are a nice touch to give it like a twist that you can't expect every integrated bracelet watch to have. For anybody that's interested, I mean, it's really a limit of what is he able to make and what are you willing to pay for.
Yep.
But from what I've seen, it's really almost infinite in terms of colors, textures, finishes. And it's a really distinct element about Sartori. Like you're not going to get that level of dial customization or other component customization from any other brand that at least I'm familiar with.
Okay, so Zach, it appears that we've got to the final watch.
Yeah, look, this watch is available in red, blue, green, but again, I just wanted to have, a rainbow of colors on the table just to sort of exhibit diversity of French watchmaking.
Yep.
But yeah, so this is made from a company called Pequignet. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. As an American, I'm horrible with French. The brand was founded in 1973 as an independent French manufacturer, ambitiously embarking and growing French watchmaking at a time that we now know as the quartz crisis, right? It was in a way the worst time to try to grow mechanical watchmaking in a region that's not Switzerland, as quartz technology was coming to the forefront. But anyway, so we fast forward to 2011 and the brand created its manufacture caliber Royale movement.
Yep.
Which is the movement or the basis of the movement in the Royal Sapphire watch that you're holding there, Marcus.
Wow.
If you flip it over, the finely decorated movement is an 88-hour automatic caliber. with day, date, and power reserve indications alongside the hours, minutes, and seconds on the dial. And that case is 42 millimeters diameter, so it's on the larger side, but it's 12.3 millimeters thick and 50 meters water resistant. And the exact model that we have here has its dial plate in yellow sapphire, but like I mentioned, it's available in other colors as well. And this tinted sapphire offers a view of the inner workings and mechanisms behind the dial face and complications. And it's worth noting that the day disc that you see can be purchased in either French or English. So you have options.
Okay, I was going to ask about that. Yeah, so this is all in French, obviously. You'll be able to see that. And then, as we advance the date, I like how it has two separate date wheels. It's not just one wheel for all 31. Yeah, really good. And then obviously we've got a power reserve on the window here, on the dial. So if we climb this up, which is great. And we've got a moon phase, which is down here. And some would ask, okay, where do we adjust the moon phase? And it is, of course, with a little micro pusher, just like so. This big, huge, power reserve barrel here. It's I believe that's what it is.
Yeah, well, that's why it's 88 hours.
Holy
Which, when you think about it, is pretty incredible for a complicated movement, that it's an 88-hour automatic.
Yeah. Oh, man, this is...
So...
And and then the price point on this one is
10,800 or so.
10,800. That is very good motoring.
For an in-house movement with that level of complication and power reserve, and for the dial, in colored sapphire, and that this is not like the watches we've been looking at previously. I would argue have a bit more industrial finishing.
Yep.
Whereas it's going to be a step above that, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I like about the fact that it's open is that if it were solid, the placement of the indications would feel a bit scattered. But because of the sapphire, the yellow sapphire, and the fact that you can see the inner workings, the double discs of the day, of the day and date, you've got this whole array of circles that you can see where the indications don't feel so scattered or out of place. There's a sort of harmony to it, almost like fireworks going off,
Yep.
Although I've never seen a moon phase that's angled this way. It's like rotated 90 degrees. But yeah, I like that. With the other three watches, you could say, oh, this feels like this or this feels like that. I can't really say that there's any watch that I would immediately think of that I would say oh, this watch we're looking at here is just like this other watch.
Yeah.
It is very distinct in its aesthetic, and this is a movement that only Pequignet's using, so it's a distinct proposition, and I think this is going to really speak to people who are looking for something off the beaten path, something that probably nobody else at your next Red Bar meetup is going to be wearing.
Yep.
But something that, while off the beaten path, is still delivering all the things, on the right track, meaning it's in-house, it's got a long power reserve, it's finished nicely. Yeah, my only detriment, again, is I think this watch is a little bit larger.
Yep.
So people with larger wrists or average to larger wrists are probably the main audience for this. But like I said, for the audience, guys, if you don't like yellow, don't let that put you off this watch. It is available in multiple colors, and each configuration. So, for example, if you were to get red, it's a red strap. So whatever configuration you get, the strap matches the dial.
So this is really, really fun. And there's something for every price bracket here, starting at 1,000 and then just sort of moving up the ranks, which is great. What would be your pick here? If you were to pick one, Zach?
Man. I guess technically speaking, my pick is the Baltic because it's the only one I own. But with a blank slate, I mean, quite literally, there's something about the Sartori aspect of being able to go fully bespoke and make a piece that's really just for you that no one else will have.
Yep.
But that's really cool to me. But I will say the one that intrigues me the most, probably orologically, is the Pequignet.
Yes. Yeah. I would agree. Yeah, I think if I was to sort of pull the trigger on one of these things, I think I don't know. I think I would just end up with the Yema again. I really do think.
So you, man.
Yeah, it really is. It's a great value proposition, but having that exhibition case back on a diver, I don't have any divers with an exhibition case back, so that would be probably where I'd sort of go, well, that's a good justification for another diver. Yeah, but this is really good. But what do you think? What would be your pick and why? Let us know in the comments, and we can sit around and talk about it.
And also, let us know what other lineups you would like us, to do. Would you want to see us do a lineup of dive watches, a lineup of Japanese watches? Let us know the category, and we'll try to make it happen in the future.
Yeah, I like it. Well, if you've enjoyed this content and you would like to see more of it, well, you know exactly the button to press. I don't need to tell you. And until the next time, I'll see you on the flip side. And Zach?
I'll see you on the next one.